Race of the Birds and Animals by Paul Goble. The Great Race. The Great Race of the Birds and Animals, Stories and Illustrations by Paul Goble. The mythologies of the Cheyenne and Sioux and other peoples who lived on the Great Plains speak of ancient times when buffaloes had awesome powers and even ate people. It was by winning the Great Race, in which all the birds and animals ran, that mankind thereafter had power over the buffaloes. It is told that the race was run around the Black Hills in what is now western South Dakota. From a distance, the pine-covered hills seem to rise straight out of the plains. But circling the hills, there is a beautiful valley, which the Indian people call the racetrack. The valley was made by the runners circling the hills, and the earth was stained red with the blood of many runners who died by exhaustion. By winning the Great Race, mankind won power over the buffaloes and all the other animals. And with this power, we were also made the guardians of creation. So here is the story of the Great Race. Buffaloes are dangerous. Stay on the highway near your car. Do you know why buffaloes have long hair on their chins? Long ago, when the world was still quite new, buffaloes used to eat people. It is true, the hair on their chins is the hair of the people they used to eat. Ugh. It is terrible to think about those times. The Creator saw how people suffered. He heard their prayers for help. There came a day when he told Crow to call all living things together to the hills which rise like an island from the center of the Great Plains. The people and buffaloes and every bird and animal heard Crow calling, and they came to the hills from all directions across the plains. The Creator stood on the highest hilltop and spoke to them all. Toke, is it right that buffaloes eat people, or should people eat buffaloes instead? All you tribes of four-legged and wingedids will decide. There will be a race around these hills. If the buffaloes win the race, they will still eat people. But if the people win the race, they will eat the buffaloes and all the four-leggeds instead. Get ready. Choose your fastest runners. Join the side you want to win. The people chose a young man. He had never lost a race. Even the buffaloes knew he would be hard to beat. But they had a young cow to run for them. She was everyone's favorite, and they were sure she would win. The animals joined with the buffaloes because they have 4 legs. The birds sided with the people because they have 2 legs as we do. Each tribe chose its fastest runner. Suddenly, Wolf and Coyote raised their heads and howled. Hop-o! The runner sped away with a thunder of feet and a great wind of flying birds. The birds flew ahead like arrows. Magpie beat her wings fast, and even the tiniest birds left her behind. But she had made up her mind she was going to win. She had been thinking things out and had made a plan. She flew down and sat on Buffalo's back. The day was hot. The birds were panting, and when they came to a stream, they stopped to drink. But they drank too much and then fell asleep in the trees. The animals swam past them, except for Beaver, whose legs were too short for such a long race, and he slipped into the lovely pool in the shade of the trees. Otter followed, and Muskrat too. Buffalo and Young Man took the lead, and the larger animals were staying close behind. Magpie had not made a sound. Nobody had even noticed her sitting on Buffalo's back. Jackrabbit was hopping along well until he saw Coyote traveling up behind him. He was so frightened that he fled out into the plains. He is still there, always wondering who is behind him. Nobody remembers how long they raced around the hills. It was several days. Tired runners dropped out all along the way. Prairie Dog wasted his energy chattering at Hawk. Rattlesnake ate Toad and then curled up to sleep. Mouse vanished down a hole when Bear almost stepped on her. Mole and Gopher tunneled along underground, and they think the race is still on. The young man fell further and further behind Buffalo. He had run his best. Nobody could say that he would have run better. Even Buffalo was almost exhausted, and her head hung low. Magpie was still clinging to the thick woolly fur of Buffalo's back. But when Buffalo saw the finishing line, she ran faster in a final effort. All the four-legged animals watching from the hillsides cheered her. They were quite sure she was the winner. Suddenly, Magpie flew up from Buffalo's back. Everyone had forgotten about her. She was feeling good and not tired at all. Magpie flew up towards the sun, and then she swooped down, squawking and crossed the finishing line just in front of Buffalo. A great shout of people and birds filled the air. Magpie, the slowest of all the birds, had won the race for the two-leggeds. Hectuhuelo, the chief of the Buffalo Nation, told the people, "It was a fair race. Now we are under your power, and you will eat us." And then the Creator spoke to the people. "Use your power wisely. Look after all things that I have made, even the smallest of them. They are all your relatives. Make yourselves worthy of them and give thanks always." After that, the people were shown how to make bows and arrows, and they were given horses. They hunted the buffaloes when they needed meat. Nobody ever harms Magpie. The people have always been grateful to the birds for taking their side in the great race. They honor them when they wear their beautiful feathers. We can all be a little like the birds. They leave the earth with wings, and we can also leave the world by letting our thoughts rise as high as the birds fly. It is also told that Magpie flew so near the sun that the sun's iridescent colors are on her tail. And in the night sky, what we know as the Milky Way are the clouds of the dust raised by the runners. The great race was the start of many things.